time, right on the edge of the forest, lived a golden-haired girl. This golden yellow-haired girl's name was Goldilocks. She had such amazing and admirable locks that everyone who saw her was mesmerized. But despite her sweetness, at times she could be a rather naughty little girl. Every time she stepped out to play, her mother would have to warn her to behave. "Darling, please stay in the backyard and don't go into the woods." Deep into the forest in a shack lived a bear family. A broad-shouldered papa bear, a medium-sized mama bear, and a baby bear. Mama Bear always woke up early to prepare oatmeal porridge for breakfast. One morning, Baby Bear woke up earlier than usual and wanted to eat his porridge. But it was too hot.
Mama, can we go out for a walk in the woods until our porridge cools down?
Mama, Papa and Baby Bear left their porridges on the table and went out for a walk. The same morning, Goldilocks was playing in the backyard while waiting for her mum to prepare breakfast. But she was so bored of playing in the same yard all the time, and she was very curious about the deep parts of the forest.
What would happen if I just went for a walk?
She looked around, seeing that no one was around. She began running into the forest. When she got tired, she stopped and looked around.
What a beautiful forest! Flowers, trees. Why didn't I come here before?
She began to walk deeper into the forest. In the meantime, walking around with his family, the baby bear saw a beehive on the branch of a tree.
Such a big beehive! I'm sure it is full of honey. Papa, can we eat some honey?
No, my boy, that belongs to the bees. It's their home.
We can't go in anybody's home and eat their food. It's not right.
You're right. I think I will have to wait until we go home for my breakfast.
Meanwhile, Goldilocks walked all by herself for such a long time. Finally, she got lost. She tried to turn back but could not make out the right way. She got really tired and hungry. She was almost in tears of her tiredness. She walked a little more, and finally she came to the end of the road. And she came across the house of the bear family in between the trees. She quietly approached the house, walked around it, but she could not see anyone. She knocked on the door, but nobody answered. Then she looked through the window. She saw 3 hot steamy plates on the table. She went back to the door again, and this time she knocked hard. The door opened. Goldilocks was overjoyed. She looked in and yelled, "Anybody home?" When there was no answer, she entered. She approached the table. On the table there were 3 bowls of porridge, 1 big, 1 medium-sized, and 1 small. Because she was so hungry, she wanted to eat the big one first. But the moment she put the spoon in her mouth, her mouth burnt, because the porridge was still too hot. She immediately reached the medium bowl, but she did not want to eat this either, because it was too cold.
It's too cold!
Finally, she dipped her spoon into the smallest one.
This porridge is neither cold nor too hot. It's exactly the way I want it.
So she ate all the porridge in the smallest bowl. When she was done with her breakfast and felt full, she wanted to sit on one of the 3 chairs in front of the chimney to rest for a while. One of the 3 chairs was a big one, the other one medium, and the last one was a small one. First she tried to sit on the big one, but she couldn't even climb on it. She tried the medium one, but this one was very hard. It was very uncomfortable. Finally, she sat down on the smallest one. This one was very comfortable and exactly her size. But suddenly, the chair broke into pieces with a very loud noise. Goldilocks found herself on the floor and she did not know what to do. She walked through to the next door, and here there were 3 beds. A big, a medium-sized, and a small one. First she tried the big bed. This one was too big for her and also too hard. Second one was a little bigger than her size, but also too soft. So she lied down on the third and smallest bed. This one was exactly her size, and it was very comfortable, so comfortable that Goldilocks fell asleep right away. Whilst Goldilocks was sleeping, the bear family came back home. Papa Bear had some wood with him that he collected for the chimney. Mama Bear had fresh berries, and Baby Bear just could not wait to have his porridge. When they arrived home, they went straight to the table. Papa Bear had a look at his bowl and was so angry.
Somebody tasted my porridge.
Mama Bear also looked at her bowl.
Somebody also tasted my porridge.
And when Baby Bear looked at his bowl, he began to cry.
That somebody also tasted my oatmeal porridge. Not only tasted it, also ate it all.
They got up and started to look around. Papa Bear noticed his chair in front of the chimney.
Somebody sat on my chair. Look, it's on a different spot.
And then it was Mama Bear's turn to complain.
Somebody also sat on my chair.
And just like before, the baby bear began to cry again.
Somebody also sat on my chair, but broke it too.
The bear family curiously went to the bedroom.
Somebody lied on my bed. Look how it's undone.
Somebody lied on mine too.
Somebody lied on my bed too, then is still sleeping in it.
Papa Bear walked next to Baby Bear's bed and saw that someone really was sleeping in his bed. Slowly lifted up the blankets, and they were really surprised to see a little girl sleeping in the bed.
What is a little girl doing in our house?
Tell this little girl to get out of my bed now.
Waking up to Baby Bear's crying, Goldilocks saw 3 bears in front of her and she ran out of the room in great fear. She went out of the house and started running without looking back. She got breathless from running, but she did not stop. And she didn't even know which way to go. Right at that moment, she saw her parents coming across from the forest. When she didn't end up going back home, they went out looking for her. Goldilocks was very happy to see her parents. She ran and hugged her mother.
Oh, Mummy!
We were so worried. Are you okay?
From now on, I will always listen to you. I will never leave without letting you know.
Goldilocks hugged her parents really tight. From that day on, as she promised, she always listened to her parents and did nothing without having their permission. She was a well-behaved and kind girl forever. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful princess in a big castle. One day, her father the king gave her a golden ball as a birthday present.
Happy birthday, my daughter.
Thank you, Father.
The princess loved this golden ball. She started to spend all her time playing with it in the garden. One day, she went out with her ball and started to play with it, tossing it around. The princess came next to a little pond and kept on playing with the ball. Right at that moment, she could not catch the ball after she tossed it in the air, and the ball started to roll away.
My ball!
The princess ran after her golden ball, but the ball got faster and faster. Finally, the ball fell in the pond and sank into the deep waters.
Oh no!
The princess sat down next to the pond and desperately started to cry.
My beautiful golden ball! How am I going to bring it back?
Suddenly, she heard a voice.
Ribbit. My beautiful princess, why are you crying? Ribbit.
She looked around but could not figure out where the voice was coming from. When she looked closely, she realized that the voice was coming from the frog that was right next to the pond, looking at her. The frog leaped towards the princess and asked again after he got closer.
What's wrong, my beautiful princess? Why are you crying?
The princess got stunned when she saw a talking frog. A talking frog? How can that be?
Well, here I am, talking, beautiful princess. Now tell me, why are you crying?
Coming back to herself, the princess started to tell her story. The golden ball that my father gave me fell in the pond. It's already at the bottom. How am I going to get it back? The frog came next to her feet and made an offer.
My beautiful princess, I will bring back your ball, but in return I will need you to do me a favor.
The princess was curious. So what's the favor?
If you accept to be friends with me, I would like to live with you in the castle.
The princess thought about it and then accepted his offer. So the frog jumped in the water and went out of sight. A while later, he appeared with the golden ball and threw it to the princess. Reunited with her ball, the princess happily started to walk back to the castle. Seeing the princess leaving the frog behind, Frog yelled after her.
My beautiful princess, you forgot me. You promised to take me with you to the castle. Ribbit.
The princess yelled out from afar, laughing. How can an ugly frog like you even imagine to live with a beautiful princess like me?
Ribbit.
The princess left the frog right there and went back to her castle. In the evening, the king, queen, and the princess sat down at the dinner table. Right when they were starting to eat, they heard a knock on the door. The maid told them that a frog had arrived and told them that he was invited by the princess and asked permission to come in. The king, surprised, asked his daughter.
Would you like to tell us what's going on, my daughter?
Well, Daddy. The princess told all about what happened that morning at the pond.
If you gave a promise to the frog to save your ball, then you must keep your word for it.
The king ordered the maid to welcome the frog inside. A while later, the door opened and the little frog came in leaping and stopped next to the dinner table.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, my king, for allowing me in.
With one big jump, the frog landed next to the princess's plate. He looked at her, unhappy. The king ordered a plate for the frog, but the frog stopped it.
No need for a plate. I can eat from the princess's plate.
The frog started to eat from her plate. The princess was really upset with him, but she thought that he would leave after the dinner anyway, and didn't say anything. But the frog had no intentions to leave after the dinner. When she left the table, he followed the princess to her room. Time passed and the frog got sleepy.
My princess, I'm really sleepy. I'd like to sleep in your bed if you don't mind.
Afraid to upset her father, the princess had to say yes to that too. The frog jumped on her bed and put his head on her soft pillow. Trying not to show her anger, the princess laid next to the frog and slept. In the morning, the frog woke the princess up.
Good morning, my beautiful princess. I have one more wish from you. If you do that, I will leave right away.
Hearing that the ugly frog would leave soon, without making it obvious, the princess was extremely happy. All right, shoot. What is it now?
I want you to kiss me, my princess.
The princess jumped out of her bed furiously. How dare you? That is impossible! The smile on the frog's face disappeared, and instead a teardrop ran down his cheek. The princess thought for a while. Oh well, what's the big deal with one tiny kiss? Evidently, I won't see him ever again. And so she gave him a kiss. As soon as she kissed the frog, a bright white light covered the room. Due to the light, the princess couldn't see anything. After a short while, the light disappeared. The princess started to see again, but this time she could not believe her eyes. Right where the frog was standing a moment ago, there was a very handsome man instead. The princess was stunned with what she was seeing. She couldn't believe her eyes, and so she asked, "Who are you? What happened to the frog standing here?"
My beautiful princess, I am the prince of a land far away. The evil witch cast a spell on me and turned me into a frog. To break the spell, I had to spend one night next to a princess and get a kiss from her. Thanks to you, I am safe from being a frog forever.
The princess was very surprised, but also very happy with what she heard. They both went next to the king and told him all about it.
This should be the second lesson the frog has taught you, my dear daughter. We should not evaluate anyone by only their looks and judge without knowing the whole truth about them.
The king hosted the prince for a few more days in his castle. The prince and the princess came next to the pond where they first met.
My princess, will you marry me and come with me to my kingdom?
The princess smiled and nodded, accepting the prince's offer. And right at that moment, a sound broke the silence.
Ribbit, ribbit.
They turned and looked where the sound came from. There was a frog next to the pond, looking at them. They held their breath and waited for him to talk. But it didn't happen. They both started laughing.
Don't worry, little froggy. I'm sure you too will find your princess one day.
And laughed a little more. After a short while, they got married and lived happily ever after.